Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel BandysBooks, and today we're gonna try to start something new for my channel. No, it's not a new concept entirely, just something new for me. And we're gonna try and predict some of the picks for the February 2023 book of the month. So I follow a couple blogs that do predictions towards the end of the month for each month's pick, and I really enjoy it, and I haven't really tried to do it too much on my own. But I thought this year going forward that since I'm paying more attention to new releases this year and what's coming up in publishing and stuff, that it might be a fun time for me to also try to predict what books are going to be on Book of the Month. So we're going to be breaking this down into categories. For each category, I only picked 2 to 3 books just because I didn't want this to turn into a super long video. So the first category that we're going to do is going to be a combination of horror, mystery, and thrillers. I kind of grouped all of them together because they have a similar vibe. And the first book in that category that I think might be a Book of the Month pick is going to be The Angel Maker by Alex North. That's dropping at the very end of the month on the 28th of February. And he would be a repeat author if they picked him again. And I know that their previous books, The Whisper Man and The Shadows, were both, pretty popular books. So far, it's doing okay on Goodreads, not as good as it could be. It's currently rated on Goodreads at about 3.69, and there's about just over 400 reviews. So it's not terrible, but it's not amazing. It's just kind of a solid so-so book for most people, it seems. The Angel Maker is about the mysteries of fate, the unbreakable bonds between siblings, and a serial killer who seems to know the future. Maybe, I don't know if I'll pick this as a main pick, but I think this might be at least an add-on option. My second pick in this category is She is a Haunting by Chang, Tram. And this has a 4.6 rating on Goodreads right now with 170 reviews so far, which is pretty significant. This is being compared to Mexican Gothic. It's about a main character who returns to Vietnam to visit her estranged father with one goal: to spend 5 weeks in the house that he's been renovating. If she can complete that, he's promised to finance her college dreams. There's just one problem: the house does not want her to stay. So this is giving me both Mexican Gothic and Hacienda vibes. I think that this might be a pick just because it just seems that Book of the Month really loves the Gothic vibes. And the setting seems really cool, having a character who's American and Vietnamese and feels like she kind of doesn't fit in either place. She's used to kind of having to be whatever people need her to be. I think this is going to be, I don't know, I feel like this could be a pick. I haven't heard that much about this. There's not as much buzz around it, but it sounds like a great book to me, and it sounds like something that would fit right along with some of the other picks by Book of the Month. The next genre we're going to discuss is romance, and this is a genre that I know very, very little about, so I honestly expect my picks to be wildly off for this one. So the first pick that I have for romance is The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest. It drops the 28th of February, and the reason that I think that this might be a Book of the Month pick is because, and this is a weird logic, but one main character wants to be an editor of children's books, and the second main character is a fantasy author. And I feel like it's a whole thing about books and romance. Kind of reminds me of Book Lovers and some of the other books that have been picked up. I feel like that romance, but with that bookish vibe in there, is a common thing for Book of the Month and just for book buzz in general. And the cover of this is really cute. It kind of fits the aesthetic of a lot of the romance picks from Book of the Month. So I don't know, I just have a feeling with this one. I don't know if I have great justification for it, but I think that bookish vibe really is gonna hit. Okay, so this book is gonna be about a shy, bookish woman named Lily who aspires to be a children's book editor, but is currently stuck in the nonfiction department. She's in a family that all seem to excel, and she seems to feel like she's behind in that process. And then her sister's gonna get married, and she needs a date to her sister's wedding. She invites Nick, her next door neighbor. Nick happens to not only be her next door neighbor, but her favorite fantasy author. And as it turns out, he realizes that he had some flirty emails with her over books a long time ago and then ghosted on her, and he's afraid to even bring it up. So I feel like this is going to be one of those cutesy miscommunication tropes where they kind of wind their way back to each other and then add in the bookish vibes. I feel like this is a recipe for Book of the Month. My second pick is The Love Scribe by Amy Meyerson. That's dropping on the 7th of February. Amy Meyerson is the author of The Bookshop of Yesterdays and The Imperfect. She's a pretty well-known author. I just feel like maybe, I don't think she's been a Book of the Month author yet so far, but I feel like maybe this is her time. I think this would probably be an interesting book. This book is about a character named Alice who has a special gift. When her best friend Gabby is heartbroken after a breakup, she pens her a story to try to help her get over her hurt. And then Gabby finds love. And Gabby passes this story on to her sisters, her mom, and her friends, and they all find love too. So I think this is about how this book is bringing people love, and maybe it's going to force Alice to look inside herself and confront her own love situation as well. Currently, the Love Scribe is at 4.22 stars, and I think it has about 17 or 18 ratings. So it's kind of very quiet, but very good feedback so far. So never know, maybe a wild card pick. Next genre is going to be historical fiction, and I think I have 3 picks for this one. This is like my biggest category. There's so many good books coming out in historical fiction. The first book that we're going to talk about is Reversing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer. It actually comes out at the very end of January, so the 31st of January. It's kind of right on the cusp. And the reason I think that this might be a book of the month pick is because it's a debut author. It's set in the Caribbean. It's kind of a really moving, gripping plot line. I think that this could be a really, really good pick. I know they like to pick out debut authors, and I think this is going to be a very powerful debut. This is currently sitting on Goodreads at 4.35 stars with 130-ish reviews, which is pretty decent so far. And the story is about a woman who, post-abolishment of slavery, sets off across the Caribbean to find her children who were stolen from her. It sounds like it's going to be really moving, heartbreaking, tragic, and I think this is like right up the book of the month alley for historical fiction. Next option is The Porcelain Moon by Janie Chang. That drops on the 21st of February. Right now it's sitting at 4.38 stars with like 50-ish ratings. Again, not a ton of ratings, but good feedback so far from the group that it's had. Janie Chang would be a repeat author. She had The Library of Legends, which was a solid book of the month pick quite a while back. I actually really loved it. So I would love to see Janie Chang repeat. Set during 1918 and World War I, we have a young Chinese woman named Pauline who's living in Paris at her uncle's home. When she's forced into marriage, she actually runs away from home to avoid it, and this is going to follow her after she leaves. My third pick for historical fiction is The House of Eve by Sidika Johnson. That comes out on the 7th of February. Sidika Johnson is well known because her book Yellow Wife was a huge success, won a lot of critical acclaim. I don't believe Yellow Wife was a book of the month option, but I could be wrong. I'm not certain on that, but I think this one definitely should. I think that this is a stunning author, writes stunning historical fiction, and I think that this would be also right up the alley of book of the month. This is currently sitting on Goodreads with a 4.59 star rating and 157 reviews. This is the highest rated book on this entire list, not just in this category. So to me, that already tells me that this is probably going to be a really good option. This is set in the 1950s in Philadelphia. 15-year-old Ruby is about to be the first person in her family to ever attend college, despite all of the obstacles that she's faced, when a really taboo love affair possibly throws her chances of college out the window and starts to drag her back into the poverty she's trying to escape. Sounds amazing. I really hope that this is a pick. I would be super stoked to get this in my box. Our next category is going to be fantasy and sci-fi. It's mostly leaning into fantasy this time. And the first one that I have is Victory City by Solomon Rushdie. That's dropping on the 7th of February. The reason that I hope that this one's a book of the month pick, even though I don't know if they'll actually pick it, is because obviously we're all aware that Solomon Rushdie was horribly assaulted a little while back. He suffered just some horrific injuries, and I think it would be a really nice rally to see some of the like book of the month and Jenna's book club and all these different book clubs support his book that's coming up. I think, you know, we should definitely encourage authors who face such extreme situations and persevere through them. So I would love to see him receive that like out of respect and just as a nod to everything he's been through lately. Plus, this book sounds amazing. Currently rated as 4 stars on Goodreads with 16 reviews, and this book is about a woman who breathes life into an empire only to be consumed by it over the centuries. It doesn't say much more than that. I love the mysterious vibes around that, and I'm here for it. My next option for fantasy would be Stoneblind by Natalie Hayes. That's coming out on the 7th of February, and it is currently sitting at just above 4 stars. But it has 4,000 and something reviews on Goodreads already. Natalie Hayes is pretty well known for her takes on Greek mythology. This one is no different. It is about Medusa. the only non-deity in a family of deities. I think it's supposed to be a contemporary version of Medusa's story. I think it'd be pretty cool. I know that Book of the Month likes their mythology vibes. I mean, we have Kaikeyi behind me, which has Indian mythology. They've had Greek mythology. There's a lot of mythology pickups. I don't think they've picked anything by Natalie Hayes yet, but this could be a fun one. And my third pick for the fantasy category is Last Violent Call by Chloe Gong. That comes out the last day of February on the 28th. I don't know about this one. So they have picked the last 3 of Chloe Gong's books as Book of the Month selections. Our Violent Delight, or These Violent Delights, Our Violent Ends, and Foul Lady Fortune. So this book is like a compilation of novellas to go with Foul Lady Fortune. And normally I wouldn't have picked this out, but I feel like they've picked all 3 of her last books, and I feel like, you know, if you were a collector of books, you would probably want all your books like from the same types of editions. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels like a vibe. I don't know if it'll be a main pick, but I think I could imagine them putting this as an add-on just for the people that are really into Chloe Gong's writing. I don't know, you know, I just don't know what to say with this one. This one's probably like my wild card. And that one didn't have a rating on Goodreads yet. There's lots of reviews, but no star ratings, so I don't know how to even... The last category that we're gonna do is contemporary fiction. I had a harder time picking books for this one. There's some very popular authors coming out with some contemporary fiction, but I don't know, I just like, none of them were really giving me strong vibes. I finally picked 2, but I'm not super confident in one of them. So my first contemporary fiction pick is Someone Else's Shoes by Jojo Moyes. This book is being released on the 7th of February. It currently sits on Goodreads with a 4.19 and about 144 reviews. Jojo Moyes is very popular. She's been selected for Book of the Month twice before. I've read The Giver of Stars, and I actually have the Book of the Month edition. It's a really great story. I think that she's a talented writer. I could see her being selected again. This one follows 2 different characters. One character who is a wealthy globetrotter, never has to like really think about money, and then she gets divorced and loses everything. And then there's a second character who's been living the hard life and, you know, just barely staying afloat. And they have a mix up at the gym. They switch bags by accident. And our character who's been living the hard life, in this bag that she accidentally takes home, finds some Christian Louboutin red crocodile shoes, puts them on just to, you know, for shits and giggles, tries them on, and it changes her whole perspective. She realizes that she has to make some big changes in her life. So this one could be interesting. I'm not even sure how I personally feel about it. Like, the description to me kind of reads a little like cutesy, you know, like a Hallmark movie maybe, and so for me it's not my kind of vibe, but you know, I could be wrong. Maybe it's going to be a lot more profound than I think. My final pick for the whole entire video is End Papers by Jennifer Savron Kelly. It comes out on the 7th. It is the second highest rated book in this whole entire list. It's got a 4.5 and it's got a decent handful of reviews on Goodreads. I think that this one could be picked because it is a debut author. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty profound story. It explores gender identity. I think these kind of things all fit into things that Book of the Month looks to explore. I know that they've picked up some books lately that have explored gender identity, sexuality, these sorts of topics. 2003, New York City, we have a main character who's genderqueer. They feel trapped by their outward presentation, their outward gender presentation. They're having an artistic block, they're in an ill-fitting relationship. Just, you know, life isn't functioning the way that they want it to. And it's an exploration of how they're dealing with these things and where they go from there. That's it for my picks for February 2023. I have no idea if I'm even close or if I'm gonna be wildly all over the place. I don't really know how people figure this stuff out. Basically, the way that I looked at it was I looked at all of the new releases for February. I looked at the ones that I personally thought sounded interesting. I thought about the things that Book of the Month typically picks. I know that they like debut authors, but I also know that they like to repeat authors sometimes. And I, you know, have found certain trends in different categories. So I just kind of used my intuition. I think that any of the books that I've picked would be pretty good, you know, selections. But, you know, there's other books that could have been good selections too. So we'll see. I'll follow up in March and let you know if I got any of them right at all. If I honestly pick one out of any of them, then I'll be super excited. And I'm thinking that they're probably going to pick 5 books going into February. I don't think it's going to be a 7-book month. I think it's just going to be 5. I definitely imagine we'll see a romance book because it's going to be going into Valentine's month. But other than that, I think it's up in the air. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, comment down below, and let me know if you think any of these picks are even close to being selected for Book of the Month. or let me know if you're excited to read any of them. And if you're not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a video. I do post regular content and I'd love to see you in a future video. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.